6 years. I would like to welcome you back again today for tuning in, for taking your time out of a busy day to come here and listen to this stuff. So I pray that the Lord blesses you as you listen. So today I would like to share 3 important lessons that I've personally learned about Muslim people. And when I'm talking about Muslim people, I'm talking about devoted Muslims. If you don't already know, I come from a Muslim background. I am born by Muslims. I've grown up around them. I'm still around them. I've got friends that are Muslims. So this is stuff that you already know, that we both already know. But I just thought I'll bring it up, for us to have this discussion, and could be you learn something from it. I continue to learn something from it. And this is not in any form or shape a faith debate. As a matter of fact, I'm not here trying to promote Islam, but I'm just pulling out the nice stuff that I probably observed about them and what I've learned about them. So yeah, 3 of them. I've got a list here. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at the list. I don't want to forget anything for this one. So the number 1 thing that I've learned is the self-discipline. These people have got a spirit of consistency. Let me just put it like that. They've got a spirit of consistency. They've got self-discipline, especially around prayer. I've been around Muslim. I used to be a Muslim myself, like I said. I like the fact that they've got this routine around prayer. Yeah, I think in Christianity, when someone prays that much, or they're constantly conscious about prayer and praying a lot, some people might even accuse them of having a religious spirit. I've been a victim of that before. I've been called that before because I was just trying to pray around the clock. I was trying to remind myself about being, prayerful a long time ago. So, but I do like that the devoted Muslim people have this prayer lifestyle. I've seen some of them, like how they live when I'm around them. When it's time for prayer, it does not matter where they are. They will just take time out of their day. They will plan their schedules around prayer. They plan every other activities in their lives around prayer. It's like they schedule this time for prayer, and everything else has to fall into whatever time slot that is left. And I think there's something we can really learn from that as Christians. That self-discipline, to make sure that you're able, to speak to God, that you're able to allocate time to spend with God, like on a daily basis. I've noticed that a lot of Muslims, once they start a job, one of the very first things they will want to find out is, where is the prayer room? Now, I want to ask you, if you're a Christian watching this, in your workplace, in your organization, do they have a prayer room? Are you aware that they might have a prayer room? Because the Muslims that I know of, they'll find out. And if they don't have, if they're told that there's no prayer room, they'll request for a space where they can go to say their prayers. I used to work for an organization where one of the things that brought me into looking into, these prayer rooms where I can go to just, pray to God. Like if it's my lunchtime and I need to just take that time out and go seek God, or just have that quiet moment. And when I inquired about it, most of the Christians in the workplace had no idea that there was such a thing. They didn't know how to direct me. I eventually found my way to the prayer room, and I found out that a lot of the Muslims were aware that we did indeed have a prayer room in the workplace. And a lot of the time we'll meet there, to the point that it became now a competition that is whoever is in there first. I became a burden for a lot of them, because before they had no competition. They just show up and say their prayers, whatever. But now every time they come, most of the time, round about break time, I'm in there. And now we have to negotiate. Like, look, I'll come back later, or, things like that. And I remember, like, throughout my entire period of working in that organization, I only ever saw or heard of a Christian going into that prayer room when they were in trouble, when things were kicking off at work, when they needed a cry. That's the only time. But when things are going right, they wouldn't bother about no prayer room, they wouldn't be asking for it. They wouldn't be trying to go there. So I'm just encouraging, my Christian brothers and sisters that it's something you could look into. And I know you could argue this and say, well, I am the prayer room. I do not need a prayer room. Yes, honey, you are the prayer room. You don't necessarily need a prayer room, but as well, as Christians, we should not use this as an excuse to not put in quality or quantity time with God, because I know that I can pray at my desk. I don't need to find a special place to go and pray. I can pray anywhere. But if I want to express myself before the Lord, if I want to burst out in other tongues, I know that I cannot do that kind of stuff at my work desk, if that makes any sense. So knowing a space where you can go and pray like the Muslim people do, I think is something that we need to start looking into. The other thing I was talking about is the commitment. I've been around my Muslim family. I remember one particular situation where we went to the hospital to visit a sick relative. And on our way back, like within the hospital, my uncle and aunt were like, oh, hang on, we can't go back on the road without prayer. We need to go pray. I was like, what? We in the hospital, can't you at least just wait until we get home? They're like, no, you can't wait. So they know, even when they go to places, when they go to the hospital, even if they're just visiting somebody there, they educate themselves about where the prayer room might be. They knew where the prayer room was. We all went to the prayer room. It was one of the most awkward moments for me, because we entered the room. There is a side there for Christians where they can pray. There's a side for Muslims. We went in, they're like, well, we're going to our side. We don't know what you want to do. We don't care what you want to do. We're going to pray. So I was like, I'll go sit on the Christian side of the, prayer room. So I just sat there, stamping my foot, thinking, looking around, like, what do I do? Meanwhile, they were there saying their prayers. And then it forced me to pray, because they were praying, obviously. And I'm just sat there thinking, okay. I just said a little prayer, and then we got out, and then, got on our way back home. So I would like to encourage you, Christians out there, and I encourage myself as well, find out if your workplace has got a prayer room, and if you ever want to utilize it in your break time, especially when you have seasons where you're fasting. When you're fasting, you need to have a safe room where you can go, because obviously instead of eating in your break time, you're going to want to spend that with the Lord, studying the word or praying. And seriously, we should have a place that we can do that kind of stuff. So that was number one: spirit of consistency, self-discipline, and sacrifice for prayer. Now, number two, I've noticed that these guys do not compromise their faith. They do not compromise their beliefs for anything. Yeah? I work in an organization where when Muslim kids are attending schools, the parents will request that the schools provide halal, is it halal they call it, foods for their children. They will not just let them eat whatever is being served. They'll ask the school to provide the right kind of food for their children, because they're like, look, my children are Muslims. You can't just serve them whatever stuff you're serving to everybody else. If they want to come to school or to work, to the workplace, covered up, whatever they want to wear, like that represents their faith, they're going to carry themselves with that identity. So I feel like a lot of the time they come as they are. When you see them, a lot of the time, the first thing you notice about them is their Muslim identity. Before you know anything, you don't even have to ask what their name is, but just one look at them, you know, oh, this is a Muslim. They live, it's no longer just a religion, it's an identity. It's like, this is who I am. Everybody around me, deal with it. Everyone around me, adjust to it. And I think as Christians, we need to stop hiding. We need to stop feeling a bit, somehow, we can't be who we are. We don't want people finding out that we're Christians. We need to have that boldness of like, this is me. This is what I represent. Deal with it. So, Christians, we need to fix that. We need to stop compromising. I've had some Christian families, and I'm not saying that Muslims don't do it, maybe a lot of them do it as well, but I'm just talking about, the good bits that I've learned from the very devoted ones. I've come across a lot of Christian parents that will compromise their religious beliefs by even allowing their children to celebrate things like Halloween. Yeah, we all know what that's all about. They'll be like, oh, I don't want my children to miss out because, all their friends are, joining in on the Halloween vibe. So I want my children not to be feeling, left out. Or my child is saying, oh, why don't we buy the trick or treat sweets? Why don't we decorate the house with Halloween stuff? And the parents say, yeah, let's do it. Instead of teaching that child and saying, no, we do not celebrate that here. I don't care if your friends are doing it. In this house, me and my household will serve the Lord. So, Christians, let's fix up. Just saying. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just saying. Right. So, yeah, they don't compromise their values. And number 3, and there is a lot of things that I've learned, but I just chose just the 3 things. The third thing is that they are united. They are very united. They are generous givers. And you can tell that their giving is coming from the heart. As in, not just giving into anything, but specifically giving onto the less privileged. Specifically giving onto the poor in their communities and the poor that are Muslims. Not just like, oh, you're Christian, let me just give you. No. They are very, very generous where other Muslims are concerned. They'll bring out food. They'll bring out necessities to the mosque and share with other, Muslim believers that don't have enough. Now when I was writing this down, it really, really challenged me as a Christian. And it's sad really that the only time I read about this kind of act, and I'm not saying that as Christians we don't do this. Please excuse my ignorance, that me personally, the main place that I've seen this happen is probably in the Bible, in the book of Acts, Acts 2 and Acts 4. But in actual sense, in actual terms, this is really, really difficult. There isn't a lot of this going on. When we read about what used to happen in the book of Acts, like in the olden days, where people that were privileged to have would sell what they had. They would go to the extent of selling their lands. We learn about, was it Barnabas? Yeah, Barnabas. When he was called into ministry, he had land. The Bible says that he went, sold that land, and brought the money to the apostles' feet. It was not just Barnabas that did this. A lot of the believers that had money, that had possessions, they were selling them and bringing the money to the apostles' feet so that that money would be shared out for those who don't have to have, for everyone else to benefit, to bridge out that gap of poverty. But we do see that in Christianity, there is a huge, huge, huge gap, which is really, really sad. You don't see someone going into ministry and saying, oh, I'm going to sell my wealth and help out, the poor in the church or whatever. In fact, it's the other way around, that we see a lot of our leaders, a lot of the pastors, a lot of the top people living luxurious lives, living in extreme riches, that they've got so much, while the people that they pastor continue to live in extreme poverty. Some of them, not all of them. Yes, a lot of it, there's another level to it, that obviously you can't just give somebody for them to get out of that poverty. Sometimes there's a lot of things from a spiritual perspective that people have to do to take responsibility for the poverty in their lives, the things that they're supposed to do. So I'm not just talking about like, oh, we should just be giving people to get them out of poverty. You cannot really just give to someone that is in like extreme poverty if it has a spiritual aspect to it. You can't give to the spirit of poverty. You give it. Today you start a business for that person. Tomorrow it will be gone. So the spiritual roots of that poverty, that chronic poverty, have to be dealt with. It's not just about giving. So that is not the topic of today. But what I'm saying is, these people are generous. You don't see like one imam or whatever their leaders are called that is extremely rich, but won't help out, the less privileged in their community or in their mosque. So I'm praying to God that we are challenged as Christians, to also be generous, to also be able to bridge that gap, of those that don't have around us, those that don't have, in our churches, some that is living on the other end of the scale. We will pray for them, we'll do everything, but then we're not doing anything about helping them out, because this is what those that went ahead of us did. This is what those that went ahead of us did, and it's a practice that we should also take into consideration. So let me just read it out for you so you know that I'm not making this thing up. So it's in the book of Acts if you want to read it for yourself, 34 to 37. Or you can read about it in the book of Acts 2, 44 to 45. So I'll just read it out. So we know what it says. Acts 2, 44 to 45, it says, "Now all who believed were together and had all things in common." Yeah? That unity. "And sold their possessions and goods and divided them among all as anyone had need." We need this back in the church. We need this example back in the church. Acts 4, 34 to 37. "Nor was there anyone among them who lacked. For all who were possessors of land or houses sold them and brought the profits of the things that were sold and laid them at the apostles' feet. They distributed each of the stuff that they brought as anyone had need." We need that back in the church. We need to learn that from, not even just from the Muslim people, but the Bible tells us to do this. This is an example of what the Christian lifestyle should be. I do get people sometimes every now and then say things like, as Christians, we should give business to fellow Christians. We should not associate ourselves with, people that are not of the faith. But I would like to say personally that one of my all-time best friends is a Muslim. And I have my reasons for that. Yes, we've done a lot of things together. We demarcate boundaries, as in, I have my boundaries. Don't break them, I won't break yours. We have that respect for each other. You're a Muslim, I'm a Christian. But we do get on a lot of other levels. Like, maybe because of our, the basic values, I think maybe are the same. This is the type of person that if I was ever stuck anywhere at all, for anything at all, they wouldn't even think twice of leaving everything behind to come and basically give me a hand, to come and help me out. There are many times you turn to a Christian sister or Christian brother who could help you really, but they'll make an excuse as to why they can't help you, especially when it comes to things to do with money. They'll preach to you, they'll talk to you about God, but don't talk about money. Don't talk about anything that has to enter the pocket, somebody's pocket. Now, this particular friend of mine is the only person that I know in my life that if I needed £4,000 right now, she's the one person that I can pick up the phone and call and say, "Hey, I need £4,000. And she will not even ask me, what do I need it for? How long do I need it for? Or when am I returning it back? She won't ask me such questions. It will just be a case of, okay, when do you want it? Or if she's busy, like, oh, give me a few minutes to get on my laptop. And that's because we've been able to build that financial friendship, between each other, that financial trust. And I do the same for her. We do the same for each other. And it's a shame that when it comes to money, most of the time I feel like I can't easily turn to my Christian sisters. We can get on all other aspects. We can talk about the things of God, but don't talk about money. It's like, oh, don't ask me for money. Don't, things to do with finances. And I'm praying to God that this will improve. And it's not just that I've seen that from the other side, but I've probably also done it, to other Christians or other Christian sisters or whatever. But I'm praying to God that we will improve on a lot of these things, that we'll be able to help each other out. I'll personally like to have a lot of Christian brothers and sisters that I have that kind of a relationship. with, not just to talk about the things of God, but also with finances. That if I was struggling, if I was having some kind of a situation, I can call on them, they can call on me, and we both know that, look, they will never try to take that money and not pay back, or I'll never take that money and not pay back, because in as much as we're trying to, support our own, give our own business and whatever it is, some of the people you come across, even in your own faith, may be the most, what's the word? The most untrustworthy, the crooks, basically. Let me just put it like that, and I'm sorry for putting it like that. They may be the most unfaithful people you have ever come across. Yes, they will talk, God to you from top to bottom. But when it comes to finances, they'll borrow money from people they will not pay. They'll be having a business, and then they'll be hyping up all the prices. They know it shouldn't be costing that, but they'll be putting at that anyway. So it's like, when it comes to money or business, God has to be put aside. So I'm just hoping that, as Christians, we'll think about these things and even other things and see what we can learn from them, and, challenge ourselves to really do better. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'll see you next time. Bye.